everyone, back to you today's video. Going to be doing JMA Friday today. As always on a Friday, we're going to have a look at the weather next month across the British Isles. So this is going to take us to the end of October. So we're going to cover pretty much the full October period with this update, give or take a day or two right at the end of the month. So we're going to check out the JMA first of all, then we'll have a look at the CFSB2, and we'll see whether they're in agreement for the way things are going to progress through the course of October. Before I get on with that, though, just to say about the ads that Gazzo is, there's links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse widgets and click through the links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, you'll help us pay for the website. Thanks very much for doing that. So we'll start off with the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts from the JMA. Looking from the North Pole down. So the North Pole is just here, and British Isles is down here in the mid-latitudes. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet is an area in the atmosphere. High pressure and low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. These charts broke down to weekly periods. So the first week will take us from the 30th of September today through the 7th of October. Blue extrapolates to low pressure, and yellow, orange, red, bright colours extrapolates to high pressure. So we've got a ridge of above average heights to the south and also to the east of the country. High pressure is there, and then we've got low pressure out to the west in the Atlantic, and the jet stream is doing something a bit like that. So it's really a continuation of the pattern that we've had through much of September and lean back into August as well, which is quite warm and driest conditions in the south and the east, most unsettled conditions in the north and west. And at times this trough, because it's quite a deep trough, will be breaking through to bring some rain. But I think overall it's the ridge to the south and the east that remains the dominating factor for the coming week. Week 2, which goes from the 7th to 14th of October, also showing above average heights dominating to the south and the east of the country. Lots of high pressure there, trough of low pressure still in the Atlantic, and the jet stream again doing something like that. So this continues to look quite warm as we're going through into the second week of October, and also with a lot of dry weather coming through as well. Warm and dry start to October, some stuff especially for the south and the eastern part of the country. And then weeks 3 and 4, which is the 14th of October, 14th of October through 28th of October, that one shows quite a change around. There's a trough of low pressure coming in to the north and the east of Scotland, and then we've got some above average heights to the north. Not a strong signal for blocking, but it certainly looks more unsettled. I think the flow around that trough will be doing something like that. So turning more unsettled into the second half of October, particularly so for the north. And I would have thought also turning quite a lot cooler as well as we go through into the second half of October. So getting to the second half of the month, and it looks like that's when autumn finally, very delayed, but finally autumn kicks in the second half of October. Let's have a look at the mid-latitude view and see the temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with these heights with the JMA model. So just a recap of what I've got coming up for the first weekly period, and remember this week period takes us from the 30th of September, 7th of October. The above average heights to the south, trough of low pressure to the west and to the north, and the flow going something like that. And if you have a look at the temperature anomaly, you expect to be a warmer than average week coming up, and that's what the model is doing. Temperatures coming out around 1 to 2 degrees above average. Precipitation looks a bit wetter than average to the northwest, far northwest of the country. The south and the east generally coming out a bit drier than average. Week 2, which is the 7th through to 14th of October, again, we find above average heights sitting to the south and the east country. If we go over here, we can see it across Central Europe. So again, the flow is going like that. Looks generally very dry and quite warm into the second half of October. Again, temperature anomalies, second week of October, I should say. Again, temperature anomalies are coming out above average, 1 to 2 degrees above average there from the 7th to 14th of October. And precipitation, pretty much across the whole country, is a bit drier than average. So a warm, dry start to October being signalled here by the JMA. And then we get this change as we go through to weeks 3 and 4. We lose that ridge to the east and we place it with a trough to the northeast of Scotland, which implies it's turning more unsettled, not a washout, but more unsettled and probably quite a bit cooler as well. Temperature anomalies are still a little bit above average, but they are lower. They are beginning to cool down. There's the scale just there. So we're dropping from around 1 to 2 degrees above average in the first half of the month to around average, a little bit above average, less than a degree above average in the second half of the month. Remember, that could be transitional as well, so it could be that it starts off in week 3 quite warm, and then week 4 is significantly colder, something like that. And precipitation also comes back into the week 3 and 4 period. It goes wetter than average there into the second half of the month. So a month of 2 halves being signalled by the JMA today. First half looks warm and dry. Second half looks cooler and a lot wetter as well. Let's have a look at CFS V2 and see whether that's in agreement with the JMA. So these are 500 millibar heights again, broken down into week periods. The first week period takes us from the 30th of September through to the 6th of October. Very, very much in agreement with the JMA for this coming week, with high pressure to the south and to the east of the country, ridge of heights above average heights there, trough low pressure in the Atlantic, and the flow is going like that, so we expect quite a warm and quite a dry week coming up for the coming week. Not completely dry, there will be rain at times in the west because this is a deep trough in the Atlantic, but for the eastern part of the country, that's where we get the driest conditions. Week 2, which is the 7th to 13th of October, also looks very similar. Again, the trough is to the northwest of Scotland, maybe a little bit closer to us. The ridge is to the south and up to the east and the northeast as well. So the ridge is being forced back a bit in central parts of Europe by this trough coming in off the Atlantic, and this trough probably particularly from the north and west, turning things more unsettled there through the second week of October. South and east probably still hanging to driest conditions, but even here you would expect some rain to be coming through at times. The 14th to the 20th of October is week 3, and that one showing above average heights to the west, to the west and to the northwest. So a bit of a change going on there. Not sure what's happening there. That's quite different what the JMA is doing. It could be transitional, so maybe it's a retrogression of the high pressure, perhaps, which is to take the ridge from the east and move it more towards the west that way. This white area, there could be a bit of a trough beginning to form there in the 500 millibar flow over Scandinavia. Not sure what's happening there for week 3. It looks an odd looking chart. And then week 4, look at this. We've got agreement with the JMA. So this is the 21st through 27th of October. By that point, the ridge is sitting to the south of Greenland, and it's also around Newfoundland. They've got this trough developing, and it is a trough in the 500 millibar flow, which is turning things cooler and more unsettled as well. The air around this trough to the east and northeast country would be coming in from the north, so that's significantly cooler, and I think also more unsettled too for the end of October. So that week 3 chart is a bit odd, but I think what's happening there, if we follow it through from where we are in week 2, that's how things look in week 2, with the high particularly centred towards Scandinavia. Week 3 shows a bit of a split going on. There is heights across western Russia, but also across Greenland. So I think retrogression is taking place there from week 2 to week 3, which is to take the high pressure, the above average heights from the east to the west, which is against the normal zonal flow, which is west to east. And then it all finishes up in week 4 with that high then centred to the south of Greenland, or around Greenland and Newfoundland just here, which allows this trough to develop over Scandinavia and turns the winds probably into the north. So again, agreement between the JMA and CFS for cooler, more unsettled conditions for the end of October. Temperature anomalies looking like this. The coming week comes out warmer than average. That makes sense based on the anomaly. Week 2 also significantly warmer than average from 7th, 13th of October. So the first half of October looks like it's going to remain really quite mild indeed. Week 3, which is the 14th to 20th of October, also comes out milder than average. And then week 4, although the pattern looks like it should be cooler, that also comes out milder than average. Not sure about that. I think based on what the model is doing, you would expect that to be significantly cooler. Sometimes these models can get so stuck within an existing pattern. We've had it warm for a very long time. It looks like that's going to continue certainly to the first half of October. They can't see a way out of it. And I do think by week 4, if the anomalies, height anomalies came off, as the model predicts, we would have a colder week there to end October. Finally, the precipitation. So the first week, that comes out generally dry than average for most of the country, but a bit wetter than average in the far north and west. Week 2 looks significantly wet, 7th to 13th of October, so it's warm that week, but also a good deal wetter than average. Week 3, we lose the precipitation signal then, so it's near normal with the rainfall. And then week 4, that one also comes out near normal with the rainfall as well. Notice it's drier than average in the central part of the Atlantic. That's the heights going up there. And if we come over here, actually, you can see it's a bit wetter than average across southern Scandinavia and central parts of Europe, indicative of that trough developing through Scandinavia down in Central Europe. So I think we've got pretty good agreement between the two models in terms of the way forward. The first half of October looking quite warm, that's very evident. Temperatures remaining significantly above average for the first half of October. They do disagree a little bit in terms of precipitation. The JMA wants to keep it dry, whereas the CFS turns it a bit wetter in the second week of the month, so a bit of disagreement there. And we get through to the second half of the month, and to me, that looks like it's turning increasingly cool and unsettled. So by the end of October, if these models are right, I would expect proper autumn to be setting in with cool, maybe even quite cold northerly winds and the chance of rain across the country as well. So very much starting off with a warm pattern and finishing up, I think, quite chilly. That's it for JMA Friday for this week. Remember, these long-range models are all highly experimental, so it's not to be relied upon. We'll do it all again next week. Tomorrow, it's a weekend forecast tomorrow, and we'll also have Terry Scully's October forecast as well. So that'll be with you at website tomorrow. Right, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.